Good morning, this is Dan with Green Machine Outdoors. We're back on the James River for another episode of Catfishing Today. Check it out right after this. I am fortunate enough to have a Thursday off during the week this week, so I'm going to get out and get a couple hours in on the river. My last trip out was not the greatest. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I do want to remind you of some of the dangers of kayak fishing and some of the precautions you need to take. We're just trying to get back on the water, get our feet, I want to say wet, but we'd rather not do that, honestly. And we're going to stay dry today, hopefully, for a change, and get some baits out, hopefully catch some fish, have a good time. I even brought a spinning rod back over here that I'm going to mess around with, so we're just going to play around in the water today, try and have a good experience out here. For bait today, we've got some gizzard shad. I threw the gill net out and collected 2 big gizzard shad. We'll start with that. If I need to grab more, I can run over on this mud flat right over here and grab a couple really quick. This time of year, bait's easy. So I've got my 2 Carolina rigs up front here. On this one, I've got a body section, more towards the tail. Here I've got a midsection, another midsection back on this spinning rod. That's on a Santee rig with a slip slide and a 8-ounce weight on there, I believe. Then we've got a 10-ounce weight over here. I'm going to toss that into the current. There's a good channel right over here that drops off into a hole. I'm going to throw the money maker, a headpiece with a stinger hook on it, right onto that hole. So let's hope we get onto some fish and let's get some rods going down. All right, we've got our rods cast out, and now seems like as good a time as any to talk a little bit about some safety while in the water. I know it's not the most exciting topic in the world, but it is important, especially if you fish out of one of these little plastic kayaks like I do pretty frequently. My last trip out, I was on the James River, which, as everybody knows, is a pretty big body of water. I fish closer to the city than you can really get downriver, so the water's not quite as big, but there's still moments where it can get a little bit out of hand. Now, I was out fishing in a 24-hour tournament and had fished since about 2 in the morning, and it was about noon when I ran into a little bit of trouble. The wind started to pick up right about the time that the tide changed, and they were going against each other, which developed some chop on the water and actually some rolling waves. So I decided I was going to get out of there, get back up into a little horseshoe, which is actually where I am right now, where the water doesn't get quite as rough, and I was just going to be a little bit more calm, and I'd fish through there. The tide was incoming, so that would have let me drift back to the boat ramp, and I was hoping to put a couple more fish in the boat. So there I am running my motor, trying to get probably a quarter mile into this channel. It wasn't very far away. I come up on a wave that came up behind me, came down on the wave almost like you'd see a surfboard sit right in that swell there, and then my kayak turned sideways and went over. Now that's not a good thing when you've got all kinds of equipment on there and you plan on spending 20 hours on the water. I had rods, reels, cameras, everything you can think of on the boat. A trolling motor up front, gas motor in the back. It was just kind of a lot of stuff. Batteries to run it all. And pretty much all of it went underwater because my boat ended up upside down. Now luckily the water was 70 degrees. It wasn't like the cold winter months I've been fishing, but I've been thinking a whole lot about what it would have been like if that water was cold. And that's an entirely different situation. It would have been some big trouble. What I do know is that you really got to make sure everything's tied down in the kayak. You see I've got floats on all my rods now. So those will float the rod up if they happen to go over. I lost 3 rod and reel combos, really nice catfishing rods, big cat fever rods, and some Shimano reels, which hurts, but they're just material things. They can be replaced. I was wearing my life jacket, which, I swam in college. I'm a very proficient swimmer. I still swim master swimming right now, 3 days a week. I have never been uncomfortable in the water a day in my life. But when you get in there in these big clothes and boots on, I had boots up to my knees that were full of water, it gets a little dicey. And not to mention my anchor line was hanging under the boat and it started to tangle up in my feet, so I just kind of got out of there and my PFD kept me afloat. So Always gonna have that on. It made a pretty stressful situation somewhat relaxing. Relaxing in the fact that I wasn't really worried about losing my life while I was in the water. The PFD just floated me right on top and I felt safe in it. So please wear those if you're on a kayak. I don't care if it's suntan season, you're trying to get a suntan, just wear it, it helps. Now, we're trying to get back on our feet today. Luckily there was a pontoon that just so happened to be coming by right after I flipped. So they found me trying to drag my kayak to shore, which had about 30 gallons of water in it. And at about 8 pounds a gallon, we're looking at, you know, over 200 pounds of water in the boat. I couldn't flip it. I flipped it back over, but if I sat in it, that would have rolled right back over again. Luckily I had bought a hand bilge pump, which I keep in the bow now. And I bought that a week prior, so my plan was to drag it to shore, pump the water out, and get back to the boat ramp, which was about 2.5 miles away. The pontoon boat actually picked me up, grabbed all my stuff, let me pump out while I was on deck of the pontoon boat, sticking my hand bilge pump into my kayak, pumped all that water out, took all my junk out, and they towed me back to the boat ramp, and I just went home for the day. I did go back out later in the evening, but my head wasn't in the game. And you know, it ruined a tournament day that was supposed to be really fun for me. Lost a whole bunch of gear. Everything was underwater, batteries, motors, graphes. Still trying to get this outboard flushed. I've done 6 oil changes and I've still got some moisture in there. So I ran it a little bit today and I've got to go home and do another oil change, and I just need to keep doing that until it's not milky anymore. So it's a big fiasco. Just be careful out there. So enough about that, let's get back to fishing, try and get a couple fish in the boat. I've had taps on 3 of my 4 rods while we've been sitting here. So let's go let one of those things go down. Be safe out there, guys. All right, we just got a big thump over here and it looks like it might be swimming with a little bit. I'm just watching it for a second before I pick up on it. There he goes. All right. That's a fish and hopefully it stays on. Changed out all new hooks, all new leader lines, everything. Fresh rigs on all 4 rods. Part of that by necessity. I lost 3 combos in the flip. One of them was a bumping combo. So I had to get 2 new reels, put them on some rods I had laying around, and get back in business here. And we got a little dink to start the day, but the skunk is out. That's always a good thing. Let's get one in the boat. All right, there's our first little fish of the day. Not bad. I'm not going to throw them on the measuring board. I need fish over 30 inches to help me in the tournament I'm working on today. But we are going to send him home. And that's the beauty of kayak tournament fishing. I caught it right here and released it right here. All right, we just got a nice thump on the spinning rod. I'm going to pick that up and see if he's on here, which I think he is. Got my drag set a little bit too loose on here. I rarely ever use this rod. It's just something a little different today. Felt like having a little fun with it. I'm glad we got to hook up on it. It's a whole different experience on a spinning rod. We were out in the boat with the 2 stands last weekend. We caught a bunch of fish on their spinning rod and it just got me a little jealous, so I had to bring mine out. This is just another little guy. Go. All right, that's right about the same size as the last one. So we need to find some bigger fish today. Now it is just about spawn time. Our fish are heading into the spawn. Some of them are on the beds, and some of my recent videos you've probably seen me mentioning, or at least heard me mentioning, that a lot of the fish are pretty banged up. So I'm not going to be actively targeting these big fish. I'm not saying I won't happen into some here and there, but I'm going to give these bigger fish a break probably until mid to late June. Just let them do their thing, sit on their bed, and You might see some other kind of fishing coming along on the channel. We might go out to a local lake that I've been meaning to try some multi-species type stuff. So comment down below if that's something you're interested in, and we'll give it a shot. All right, so we were getting a ton of taps on the lines, but nothing was really hooking up. We just got those 2 fish and then the bite kind of died off. So we're gonna go move around, pull some baits and suspend some baits, work a deep channel over here and the mud flat back behind me, and just kind of see what's going on. I'm gonna use the tide to take me out along that channel, drag baits as I go, then pop over into the slacker water and come back up through the mud flat. We'll see if they're shallow or deep and adjust from there. Well, we have taken to the bank, as you can see right here. We've got about an hour and a half until the tide flips around. The wind is pushing downriver, the tide's flowing out. I need the tide to be incoming so I can work way back up this way to the boat ramp. So I'm gonna hang out here until that flips around. Unfortunately, I've got something going on with both sets of my motors here. My battery motor, not really working. I'm gonna play around with that for a little bit. Gas motor might be a little bit overfilled with oil. So that was running for a while, and I'm sure I could fire it up and run it again, but it's either high on oil or low on oil. I can't get it level to check, so I don't want to run that and mess it up too much. If I need to run to get home, we'll see what happens later, but I'm gonna mess around with this electric motor in the meantime. What a day. All right, we're getting a tap on this rod. Maybe it'll go down, maybe not. Might be a little guy on there. Yeah, I think we got a little fish on here. Maybe not. Hard to tell. Now, there's a little guy on there. Let's get him up here on the shore. Ooh, that had to hurt. He got hooked right in the tongue. Let's get that out of there for him. And send him on his way. That's a little bit more shallow than I thought. All right, he'll make his way out of here. There he goes. He's gone. All right, we got a fish hitting this rod right here. Same one as last time. Let's see if he's on there. Yeah, we got him. Cool. Good way to pass some time while we're waiting for that tide to change. We only got about 40 minutes now. I think he just come off the hook. Nope, he was just running. He can't make up his mind here. Yeah, he's gone now. All right, let's get another bait on that, toss it out. Keep waiting on this tide to change. Only about 40 minutes now. All right, as you can see up here, we've got the front trolling motor moving again. Just had to reset the battery, let it chill out for a little bit, and we are back underway. We're gonna drift really slow and drag some baits in that flat, start working our way back to the boat ramp. Let's pick up another couple fish. All right, well, we are gonna pack it up and head back to the house. Not a whole lot of fish this morning, just wanted to get out and test some equipment, and it's apparent that we're having a couple issues with the outboard and with either the batteries or the electric trolling motor. So we got to get that all sorted out and come back another time we can actually enjoy ourselves on the water. But thanks for following along. Check out the channel, subscribe if you like it, and we'll be back for better action next time.